It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Worldwide Sports Radio presents the Haystack Show. With Mike Guido.
And here we go on a Wednesday. It's the Haystack and the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, WorldwideSportsRadio.com. Mike Guido, Evan Mazza, my producer. Matt Caterizzola, Big J journalist. Great to have you in here on a Wednesday. I'm getting to the point now, Evan, where I'm like, I'm losing the ability to figure out what day it is. Like every day I'm just like, is it Wednesday? Is it? I don't know. I'm losing it.
It's that midweek lull.
Here, Matt, can you do me a favor? Okay, see that black box right there? With that one with the dials on it?
Yes.
Okay. The one on the furthest left, can you just like turn that to the right a little bit and I'll tell you when to stop? And good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You're thebomb.com. Thanks, buddy.
About to take Evan's job.
Yep. You are literally a better producer than Evan.
Nice.
I'm just kidding. No, you're not.
No, I think it's good to bring me back down a little bit. It's fine. No, he means it.
I couldn't let it go to your head.
No, he means it.
Okay. So, plenty of stuff to go over today. Barrington Grand at 12:30. Are we doing this draft thing or what? Or are we going to do that?
I feel like now,
It's appropriate.
There's a Super Bowl. We're in the Super Bowl hangover now, but we have a lot to look forward to football-wise. There's draft, free agency.
Free agency is going to be pretty wild.
That's what I think we should do. We should pop up at some point before free agency begins. Pop up any name of free agents and take a guess where they go.
Take a guess or say like where we would like them to go.
Why don't we end the show with that today, Evan? That's a good
That'd be
idea.
cool, yeah.
Why don't we end the show with that today?
Not the best fit.
Best free agency destinations.
But not
best
really-
fits.
Not best fit, but just a guess on where they go.
Oh, just where they're going to go. All right.
Okay.
Well, honestly, like it's probably going to be the same answer for me. Because if they're the best fit, that's where I'm going to guess they're going to go. Or not.
Okay.
Whatever. Or not. I don't know. Whatever.
I might be on the same boat, but we'll see. All right, so let's begin with this. So, before the Super Bowl on Saturday, the NFL awards were announced, and I agree with most of them. I think MVP, they got it right. I think Offensive Player of the Year, they got right. I thought that both Rookie of the Years, they got right. The Assistant Coach of the Year, I think that they got right. The only things I didn't love, Defensive Player of the Year, I thought they got wrong. Comeback Player of the Year and Coach of the Year, I thought they all of those, I think they got wrong. I would have voted for somebody else. Now, again, that's just my opinion. They might not have gotten it wrong. That's just the way that I feel about it. Okay, but most people really dial in on the MVP. Lamar Jackson won unanimously. He's the only player to do it. He's the second player to do it in NFL history. The only other was Tom Brady in 2010. So I was surprised by the unanimous decision, but here's where I'm really going to take this. Lamar Jackson had a phenomenal season, okay? He led the league in touchdown passes with 36. 56% of his throws. He threw for over 3,100 yards. He only threw 6 picks. Okay, running the football, he ran for 7 touchdowns while running for over 1,200 yards. Okay, he was running for 80.5 yards a game. He was by far the best quarterback in the league this year. Okay, absolutely deserving of the MVP. He was unbelievable. Now, here's the thing. We are all going to have this expectation now with Lamar. Every time a player wins MVP, they're expected to continue on the trend. We officially designate this as the player they are supposed to be for the remainder of their career, okay, or for the following seasons. That's not going to happen, okay? Think about it like this. I guarantee you that by the middle of next year, everybody is going to bail on Lamar Jackson. Everybody is going to bail. His completion percentage won't be as high. He won't be throwing for as many passing yards. He's not going to lead the league in touchdowns again. He's not going to be running for as many yards. And everybody's going to be like, see, he was just he was a one-year wonder. He was a flash in the pan. Okay, slow down on this. Okay, if you really think about it, what are your expectations for Lamar Jackson next year? he's not going to win MVP again. Okay? I think the Vegas odds have him as the second favorite. He has the second highest odds to win MVP. That's a terrible bet. He will not win MVP again. He's not going to do it. Okay? Lamar Jackson is, I guarantee you his numbers will go down next year. I guarantee you the Ravens won't win 14 games next year. Okay? The Ravens might not make the playoffs next year just because that's how the NFL works. Okay? But could they get in? Absolutely. They could go 10-6 and get in. But there is no guarantee in the NFL. Lamar Jackson could go into next year and complete 61% of his throws, and everybody's going to bail on him. I just want to warn you of this. Please do not jump off the Lamar Jackson train because he had a little bit less of a year next year than he did this past year. I mean, give me a break. Okay, if Lamar Jackson completes 62% of his throws, he throws for 3,000 yards, he throws 25 touchdowns, he throws 10 picks, and he runs for 800 yards, are we really going to bail? I mean, let's be honest, okay? What do you want Lamar Jackson to do? Do you want him to win MVP every year? Because that's going to be the expectation. Okay, we're not going to do the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes isn't going to be that. We never had a 50 touchdown a year expectations on Patrick Mahomes. Once he won MVP, because he's not a running quarterback, we saw the talent, we saw the arm strength. We're oh my God, he's the next best thing since sliced bread. Okay, that's what we thought of Patrick Mahomes. We didn't put that same expectation on him. Okay, we automatically designated him as great. But because Lamar Jackson is a runner, because we have questions about Lamar Jackson, it means that we have to judge him on, well, if he goes down next year, maybe he's digressing, maybe he was a flash in the pan. No. Stop it. Okay, Lamar Jackson is fine, and he will be fine. Okay, there is no okay, now, I think that there's a line that he can't cross. I'm not going to say if he completes 56% of his throws, yeah, I'd be worried again. But if he goes 61, 62% on his throws next year, and he's a little bit less productive, I'm not going to bail. He's a good player. Okay, he's a really good quarterback in this league, and I think he will be for a long time. He's not always going to have the running ability, but I think the pocket ability is developing. I think it's going in the right direction for him. He's always had the arm talent. It's all about the accuracy, and the accuracy got a lot better this year. It did. He grew as a player so much. So I'm just warning you again, when Lamar Jackson's numbers next year dip, don't bail. Don't be so quick to bail. Because that's not going to be the player that he is forever. He's going to have his great years. He's going to have his bad years. He's going to have his medium years. Okay, next year, he's due for a little bit less of a year than he had this year. He's not going to win MVP every year. Okay, he's not going to have a 15-year career with 15 MVPs. He's just not. Patrick Mahomes isn't going to be that. And we think Patrick Mahomes is going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. So slow down on Lamar Jackson. He will be 100% fine. What do you think, Kevin?
I think all I'm asking for Lamar. Now the expectation for Jackson is going to be high. It's going to be high. It's going to be, and that's just the nature of the business. That's just the nature of what happens.
It's the nature of how people feel about running quarterbacks.
Well, I think it's also just the nature in general of when you win an MVP and when you win a certain award, because then the next year later you're expected to do that again. I think in Pat Mahomes' case, with Pat Mahomes, I actually do think a lot of people expected a 45 to 50 touchdown season, but the fact of the matter is that wasn't going to happen again. You look at someone like Pete Alonso, who won Rookie of the Year last year when he getting 53 home runs. A lot of people are coming to this season expecting Alonso to do the same thing again. That's not going to happen.
No, he's going to hit 39.
But people will consider that a disappointment. Like, if he doesn't reach 50 home runs, they'll consider it a disappointment.
Right, right.
Of course. So if Lamar can get me, even if Lamar doesn't throw 36 touchdown passes, if he doesn't throw 36 touchdown passes and rush for 1,000 yards, I do think people will consider it a disappointment because then they'll say, well, he's playing good, but it's not but it's not last year. That it's not last year. I think that's kind of where that's what will happen. All I'm asking here, I'll ask for Lamar Jackson is this: give me 27 touchdown passes next year. Maybe he will throw 6 interceptions. If he can 10 to 12 would be fine. He's not going to throw just those 6. Throwing single-digit interceptions is hard. Give me 10 to 12 interceptions, 800 rushing yards or so, 700, 800 rushing yards or so, and call it a day. That would be a pretty productive season. That should result in about 10 or 11 wins, maybe a 12th. And I think that's good enough. But there is now a certain expectation, especially since you won it unanimously. And that's just the nature of the business every time you win an award, especially since he won it unanimously. He's the second player ever now to win it unanimously. Second player ever. We can agree or disagree with it, whether he should have been unanimous, but he's now the second player ever to be unanimous MVP. So now there's going to be a certain expectation on next year to repeat that performance. And it's extremely hard, especially now. And again,
and he's not going to. He's not going to repeat that performance. He just won't.
And defenses will adjust, will do their best to adjust to him again. They will try to. I'm sure a lot of them are currently will focus a lot on that Tennessee Titans.
He'll run for 800 yards. He'll throw for 25 touchdowns, and he'll throw 10 or 11 interceptions. He won't have nearly as good a year this next year as he did this past year. Okay, that's just the nature of the beast. He just won't do it, and it's not. It isn't his fault. It's the way that defenses game plan against him. And again, you are not in the NFL. It is so hard to have back-to-back great seasons. Okay, especially as a quarterback, it just is
historic years. I mean, this year for Lamar Jackson was historic. It's really hard to repeat a historic season. Again, I bring up Pete Alonso. It's going to be extremely hard to repeat an historic season. You mentioned, I think you also have to bring up recent memory, Jacob DeGrom too. DeGrom had this historic 2018 year. We all thought, it's going to be. A lot of people expect him to repeat the performance.
And then he won the Cy Young again.
He won the Cy Young, but that was a rarity. That was rare for DeGrom to kind of repeat that performance because it's extremely hard.
He's got to be close to the best pitcher in baseball. I mean, DeGrom's really close.
I think he is.
He's really close.
Him, Cole,
at least the National.
Scherzer.
At least the National League.
Scherzer, I'm concerned about because again, the neck and the back injury concerns me.
Yeah, he's gotten a little injury prone,
that's actually.
I think at his best. At his best in recent history, except for maybe Roy Halladay, Max Scherzer was the most dominant pitcher at one time that I've ever seen. I mean, he was so good at his best.
Doc Halladay was the best pitcher I've ever seen.
Oh, I agree.
He was the best one I've ever seen.
Oh, I'm with you. But anyway, either way.
It's hard for Jackson to – so all I'm asking as a fan, because, again, it's going to happen. Jackson will have a good year, but you'll still say, well, why is he not having the MVP season from a year ago? Oh, it's hard. And like we said, defenses adjust. If he can just give me 27 touchdown passes to 10 to 12 picks, and he threw 1,127 passing yards this past year, so maybe get to 3,300 or something like that, maybe somewhere around that range – that should still – and the running game will still be good. You'll still have Ingram and Edwards and Justice Hill. The running game will still be Lamar. The running game will still be the running game, how it is. It wouldn't be surprised if they're number one again next year in running and rush offense. And it'll result in 10 or 11 wins and maybe a 12th.
Right.
And possibly a division title. So I think that's all you can ask for. And I think even after this year for the Ravens – you probably could take a breather. 14-2. A lot of things went their way to get 14-2. So maybe be a good thing to take a little bit of a breather and go get 10 or 11 wins. Since I guess we're better off with 10 or 11 wins anyway. Right.
All righty. Well, according to you, they might go 5-11.
Well, I think next year will probably be different.
That was pretty funny.
The division.
Yeah. Listen, I know I tease you about that, but you actually have taken ownership of that pretty frequently.
I feel like I had good points going into that, and when they were 2-2, I was like, oh boy, here we go. Things will go bad. This is after they got destroyed by Cleveland, and they completely took off. And the hard part of the schedule, where I thought it would be bad, Seattle,
New England, they lost. They lost, and then they won. How many games straight?
Every game except, and then the playoffs happened. So that's the best way to put it. They won every game after that. Except
this was a very happy Ravens season for you. You got a lot of satisfaction this year.
Yeah, I wasn't.
You would have really liked them to. Go to the Super Bowl and win it based on the trend that they were going on. But
how can I be upset after the playoff loss when I set the expectations that low? And again, a lot of us did it. A lot of us had 7-9, 8-8. I had 5-11. No one expected them to be this good. And now the window for a championship is wide open. That's why I wasn't that upset at the loss. The window is wide open for a title. So
Well, the division kind of fell apart this season too.
sure, Cleveland wasn't.
Big Ben's out for the
Ben
season.
got hurt.
And
Ben
And the
will be
Bengals
back.
are the worst team
Ben
in the
got
NFL.
hurt.
You
The
gotta
Bengals
figure-
didn't win a game until week 13 or 14.
Yes, you got to figure.
It's going to look a lot different next year. Ben's going to be back. Cincinnati will have Burrow. Cleveland might get their act together.
You got to
don't
figure.
know.
You got to figure Cleveland's going to be better than they were this year. You got
Well,
to
new head coach. So I mean, they could very well. This could very well be a much more competitive, division, and that could subsequently make Baltimore's journey a little harder.
especially with Ben.
Which
back.
which speaks more to Mike's point that they're going to be fine, but it's going to be harder, and
course it
Lamar
is.
will not do last year what he did this year.
And Lamar is yet to face Ben Roethlisberger. That's
Right.
something that he's going to have to. And Ben, the clock is ticking on the Steelers with Ben. They probably have maybe a year or two left with Ben, so the clock is ticking.
After major elbow surgery,
Yeah,
it
after
might have sped that time a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit up.
maybe. So the clock is certainly ticking on the Steelers' run with Roethlisberger.
I know this is really early, and this is before free agency, this is before the draft, this is before everything, but I have a really sneaky suspicion that the Steelers are going to be really good next year. I think
They were kind of good this year.
I think the Steelers, when they get Big Ben back, they're going to have they have a full year worth of Minkah Fitzpatrick. Listen, the Steelers have talent and they're well coached.
They don't have they don't have any first round picks though.
No, you're right, they don't. But I think they're going to do some work in free agency, just like the Ravens did this past year. I do. I think they're going to add another pass rusher. Don't be surprised if Vic Beasley ends up there, right? Because they're losing Bud Dupree. So
Well, that'd be interesting because Beasley, I could see going to
Bud
Baltimore.
Dupree is going to go. Bud Dupree is probably going to get more money than Beasley will. That I would not be surprised if Bud Dupree got like 18, 19 million. But
How much do the Steelers have in salary cap? Well,
I don't think it's a lot. But
certainly, they're never.
I
I mean,
think-
they're never usually.
I
on top.
have a sneaky suspicion that the Steelers are going to be really good next year. I'm telling you right now. I think they're going to be good.
Well, they won 6-7 games with
They went 8-8.
with Mason. Yeah, they went even with Mason Rudolph and Devlin Hodges. So and they were out. They were without James Conner and Juju Smith-Schuster for a good portion of the season too. And I mean, doing as good a job as Tomlin did coaching that team with the pieces that he had available to him. I mean, it's just again, I agree with you. I think they're poised to have a better year next year with their starting players fully healthy and coming back in, and especially in that division, which is like I mentioned before, it's going to be a lot more competitive because a lot more things are going to be changing.
You'd imagine Cleveland's going to get better.
You
Cincinnati will get better with Burrow.
You have to consider the fact that a lot of what was happening with Cleveland was the fact that Kitchens was not qualified to be a head coach.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's.
I think
all,
Kitchens deserves a bunch of the blame. I'm not
right.
going to
I'm
lie.
not like I said.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's solely responsible. They have.
I mean, Baker's got to get better too. Baker was awful last year.
but I'm not even saying the performances on the field. The personalities of the players themselves were a big reason why. I mean,
Agreed.
Odell
no, they
Baker, the whole thing that happened in the Steelers game with the helmet scenario with Garrett,
right?
who again we're going to see his suspension carry.
Yeah, we don't even know if Garrett's going to play.
Exactly, Garrett could very well be suspended for the entire season because it said the initial suspension that was handed down said indefinitely.
Pittsburgh is currently over the cap at $2 million.
Currently constituted. So that's with
31st in the league. They're currently over the salary cap at $2 million.
Wow.
Your Cowboys are fifth.
We're like fifth. Yeah, we have a ton of cap space.
$73 million.
But we have a ton of cap. We have a ton of cap space, but we're also losing a crap ton of players.
Giants are $61 million at 7th place. First place is Dolphins. Second place the Colts.
Nice.
The Colts. That scares me.
Bills
the
are
Colts
fourth.
have money.
Bills are 4th, and they're coming off an 11-win season. They're 4th with $81 million. The Jets are 11th with $56 million. Denver 9 with $58 million.
You look at the teams that going into next year could take a leap into the playoffs. They could take that next step, right? Because you're going to, like, it happens every year in the NFL. Half the teams that make the playoffs don't make it the next year.
There's usually one surprise team. Like this year is Tennessee that makes a late run or, makes one splash in free agency.
Something along those lines.
Some crazy roster
San
change.
Francisco went from having the number 2 pick in the draft to going to the Super Bowl. Like, it's just, that's kind of what happens in the NFL. So I have a suspicion about the Steelers. I have a suspicion about the Denver Broncos. I think they're going to be a lot better. I think Oakland's going to be a lot better.
Denver, I like a lot.
Denver, I think, is a legit future.
Denver, I think
they have
really
a legit future.
They did good. Like if they obviously didn't start Drew Lock the entire season, but they look like they found their franchise quarterback. Bradley Chubb was out for the season, by the way.
Right,
he doesn't get hurt very often, and he tore his ACL.
Exactly.
So they were down one half of their best pass rushing tandem.
Yeah.
And Cortland Sutton is a legit wide receiver.
He's
one.
Really good.
I think if
he's very good.
You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I think if the Cowboys do well in the draft and they get back some necessary, like if they get back Dak and they get back Amari Cooper and like they bring back some guys that are necessities almost, I think the Cowboys could be really good next year too, because I think Mike McCarthy is going to make a load of difference.
That's the difference right there. You just named it, Mike McCarthy. They got Mike McCarthy. That's all I need to hear. The Cowboys already have a talented football team. You have a extremely good football team. Yeah, you got to figure out what's going on with Amari Cooper, and you're going to have to get Dak signed. But that's a really here's a really good football team. With McCarthy on board, that can get you to where you want to be.
Here's an idea for you, Evan. You ready for this? Just throwing it out there. Not saying it's going to happen. I'm just throwing it out there. Okay? There was a tiny little theory that I thought up with while I was driving here today. What if the Cowboys franchise tag Dak, right? The franchise tag for Dak would be like 26 or 27 million
and
or
that's
something
the
like
expectation. I think the expectation is they're going to
That's what's likely to happen, yeah.
So they franchise tag Dak. Dak doesn't show up to play, right? He sits out. He holds out.
He'll do the Le'Veon.
He'll do the Le'Veon Bell. The Cowboys have Cooper Rush at quarterback. They're awful. They're the worst team in the NFL, and they get the number 1 pick and draft Trevor Lawrence next year.
You think they'll be that bad?
I think without a quarterback, they'd be that bad. I really do. Like I think if it isn't even with the Cowboys without Dak. It's the Cowboys with Cooper Rush. Like the Cowboys probably have the worst backup quarterback in the entire NFL. Like if Dak gets hurt, they're screwed. Or if he doesn't play, they're screwed.
I don't even know who the Giants' backup quarterback is right now. Is it Alex Tanney?
It's probably Alex Tanney.
It was Eli Manning.
It was Eli Manning, but now I'm saying now is it Alex Tanney?
I'd imagine that you'd probably draft a kid in like the 4th or 5th round or something.
All right.
To be a backup because that's important. You got to spend a decent draft pick on that kid.
With that offensive line, you got to protect all your assets, have an insurance plan in place, but.
Go draft Nate Stanley.
Listen, I don't know if the Cowboys could even with Cooper Rush at quarterback.
Like I said, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I just thought it was an interesting idea.
That's an extreme hypothetical because even with a coach like McCarthy, I mean, even with Cooper Rush at quarterback, I don't think a team with that offensive line, Ezekiel Elliott, if they do bring back Cooper, if they bring back at least a few of those defensive pieces, I don't know if they're able to be that terrible in the NFC East. I don't know if they're capable of being.
You don't think that they're capable of only winning like 3 games?
Not in the NFC East, no.
So they would get swept by the Eagles.
Probably.
Maybe they split with the Giants and split with the Skins. But I'll tell you what, though. Without Dak, the Giants might sweep them. I'm not kidding. I think the Giants are going to take a big step up next year too if the draft goes well. If they draft well, the Giants are going to take a step forward too.
That's my thing. After free agency, after the draft, that's when we'll get the real state of this team.
And we got to play the NFC West. So we got to play Seattle, we got to play the Rams, we have to play San Francisco. We got to play the Vikings. Like we have to play.
Arizona could give you a run for your money,
Arizona, I think Arizona would beat us without Dak. I'm not kidding.
I actually think Arizona is going to take a step up next year. I really think they can be pretty good.
Here, hang on.
It's another team that do the draft that we're going to see a pretty.
Let me hang on.
We also have the Ravens in Baltimore.
So all right. So the Cowboys' schedule next year contains. All right. So you get obviously the Eagles, Giants, and Redskins all twice. We're at Seattle, at the Rams, home against San Francisco, home against Arizona. Okay, we're at Baltimore. We're home against the Steelers. We're at Cincinnati, home against the Browns, and then we get at Minnesota and home against Atlanta.
Ooh.
That's not easy.
It's not an easy schedule at all.
That's not easy. You're telling me that if they would lose to the Eagles twice. I think they would probably win 1 or 2 division games, right? They'd probably split with the Redskins and probably split with the Giants. And maybe they win
Cincinnati.
Maybe they win on the road. But even then, they'd have Joe Burrow.
Well,
they'd have Joe Burrow. We're talking about the Cowboys with Cooper Rush at quarterback.
Still, though, yeah, Joe Burrow, but that's also
and it's on the road. It's in Cincinnati.
Joe Burrow, but that's also a rookie quarterback against a pretty strong defense. So I kind of
and Cincinnati has a very, very below average.
Here's the problem:
very bad offensive line.
They do have a bad offensive line, but Cincinnati's got weapons. Cincinnati has offensive playmakers.
When they're healthy.
Is AJ Green going to be there next year?
When was the last time
AJ Green's probably not going to be there next year.
When was the last time AJ Green and John Ross played on the field together?
John Ross, Tyler Boyd, Tyler Eifert, Joe Mixon. I mean, they have players.
When was the last time they were all on the field at the same time?
I don't know.
See, that's the thing. They usually have 2 to 3.
I mean, if that game comes early in the year, I mean,
look, listen.
Do you think? I'll be honest with you. I don't feel comfortable telling you that because I think we would lose every game against the NFC West. Every game. We'd lose every game in the NFC West. We would absolutely lose to Baltimore on the road. We'd lose to Pittsburgh at home. I think we would lose to Cleveland at home. We would lose both to Minnesota and Atlanta. We'd lose both games to the Eagles. If the Cowboys didn't have Dak, they'd be horrible. They'd be horrible. There's no way. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, the Browns would be, again,
this is just a theory. I'm not saying it would happen. I'm saying you don't think that there's the slightest possibility that they could be one of the, like at least one of the 2 worst teams. Like, who would be worse than Dallas if they didn't have Dak? Let's throw that question out there. Who would be, after the draft, after free agency, this is all speculation, but who would be worse than Dallas next year if Dallas did not have Dak Prescott?
Are you saying, like, if Dallas didn't have Dak, could I answer you with, like, okay, Houston without Watson?
No.
Or just another actual team?
No, another actual team. Let's say another team, every team has their quarterback.
Miami?
You think Miami would be worse? I don't think so. They've got a wazoo of draft picks. They've got a ton of money. I don't think they'd probably have Tua.
Washington.
There's no way.
But Tua might not start right away, and I would take Dallas's weapons over Miami's weapons.
And also depending on what the Chargers do.
Even now.
Okay, yeah, probably. But overall roster, I would take Miami's. I'm sorry, I would take Dallas's roster over Miami's. But
there's no.
You have to take points away based on how bad Cooper Rush is. Cooper Rush is a 1 touchdown, 3 interception every week guy.
There's no
What's your beef with Cooper Rush, man?
He's horrible. Have you ever seen him play?
What did he do to you?
He's throwing 4 interceptions in preseason games. He's so bad.
He's Nathan Peterman.
He's worse than Nathan Peterman. I'm serious. He is like Nathan Peterman on steroids.
John Gruden loves Nathan Peterman, okay?
No, not anymore. He's not even on the roster.
Oh, that's right. He's not. Still, he loves Nathan Peterman.
That's all I'm going for.
The Cowboys are certainly without Dak Prescott, are certainly a bottom 3 team in the National Football League. And it's always the same. It's the same case with a lot of the starting quarterbacks. It's why I think you pay Dak Prescott. You may not want are you probably overpaying him? Sure, but you pay Dak Prescott because again you don't want to get on that quarterback carousel and you don't want to go on see a talented team like the Cowboys go down the tubes because you're missing a quarterback.
The
But
hardest,
that's the thing
it's the hardest
is, who
thing to
would-
figure out.
Opposition
It's
to
the hard.
find.
It's the hardest thing to figure out in football is getting the franchise quarterback right. And you can have all your questions about Dak, but he has the intangibles and he has the production, at least to the point where you can say, okay, I think this guy. He's winning games. He's won you the division. You just need a little bit more something to get over the hump. And maybe getting rid of Jason Garrett was the right move, and maybe Mike McCarthy is going to be the thing that does get you over that hump. But I think Evan's right. I think you pay Dak Prescott strictly because of what you just said. If you really want to throw your hat into that ring and say, yep, we need a quarterback, and go down that road, it's not fun and it's not easy.
Chargers and Jaguars, and again, depending on what the Chargers do at quarterback, they could draft a guy. They could draft Eason. Love.
Chargers should take Herbert.
The Jaguars are not going to draft a quarterback.
No, the Jaguars.
They're going to roll with Foles or Minshew. Again, I don't.
Plus, they're paying Foles $22 million a year. Nick Foles next year will be the starting quarterback. I'm still going into that.
We'll see.
I'm still diving headfirst into that.
They benched Foles and went right with Minshew, so they went right back to Minshew. So
I know
it'll be interesting to see what their decisions are. But I could definitely see, again, hypothetically speaking, today on February 5th, if the Cowboys didn't have Dak next year and he held out trying to get a new contract, in terms of the teams with the Cowboys being one of the worst, I could see the Chargers depending on what they do, the Jaguars depending on what they do. So that's 3. If Matthew Stafford has another injury-riddled season, definitely Detroit will be up there again. It's kind of stinks for the Lions because the Lions were competing this year until Stafford's injury, and then they fell down.
But the Chargers would be better. The Chargers would be better. The Raiders would be better. The Buccaneers would be better. The Buccaneers were decent this year.
Oh, the Bucks!
With Jameis.
The Bucks finished 7. That was as an impressive of a 7-9 season as I've ever seen because they were 7-9 with a quarterback who threw 30 picks.
How in
the world did you do that?
Carolina's going to be better. There isn't any. The Bills, the Jets. Literally everybody would be better. Everybody will be better. The only teams that I think could possibly be worse than the Cowboys, the only teams, and I'm not even sure they will be, would be probably only one team, the Redskins. They're the only team that I could say.
Carolina, okay, again, depending on maybe they draft a quarterback this year or not. I don't know. Maybe they stick with Cam. Maybe they go with Cam for another year. I don't know. But that's
probably what's going to happen. They're probably going to go with Cam.
And Washington's going to draft Chase Young.
I figure that's going to happen. But again, Carolina just lost whatever the quarterback position is. They just lost Luke Kuechly. He's retired. Greg Olson, they cut him recently. They have a new head football coach. I don't know. Carolina might be a team that you might see in the top 5 of the draft next year.
They might be.
They might be a team.
They might be.
Top 4 of the draft.
They wouldn't be worse than the Cowboys without Dak. They would not be worse than the Cowboys without Dak. They wouldn't. I'm just saying. Because even if, like I said, even if Carolina doesn't have Cam, then they still have Kyle Allen. And what we think about Kyle Allen, that's fine. But Kyle Allen won football games this year. So I'm just saying, Cooper Rush is one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life. He is really horrible. And we're going to ask Barrington Grant this question. Barrington Grant up next. It's the Haystack and the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the Haystack Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Good to have you back. Haystack Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Mike, Evan, Matt here on a, what is it, Wednesday?
Today's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, right? I should know by the guests I have on. I designate guests for certain days because it helps me it helps me remember what day it is. And I'm losing my marbles. It's unbelievable. Okay. So, time now for the most interesting sports conversation in sports media. Barrington Grant. Barry, do we have you, my friend?
Yes, you do.
How you doing, buddy?
Good.
So, first of all, the first question I have, did Jazz like the wings?
She loved the wings. She actually devoured them in about 5 minutes. So it was really good.
Excellent.
She loved them.
I told you they're dope wings. Either way, all right. So let's get into this Super Bowl stuff. I do think that there's a notion in the NFL that when a team wins the Super Bowl, everybody needs to follow that sort of blueprint. The NFL's a copycat league. Okay, if you really think about it, the Chiefs were kind of the anti-blueprint. They didn't do what teams were doing to make themselves successful. They didn't run the ball well. They didn't have a great defense. They were kind of the anti-blueprint. You tell me, is the whole, you got to take the blueprint idea, because I felt like the Chiefs were the anomaly to the blueprint of what succeeds in the NFL. What are your thoughts on that, bud?
No, I agree with that. I mean, normally, like you said, it's a copycat league, but the Chiefs are that unique team where they just have a high potent offense and a great quarterback, and they make some timely stops on defense, and that's pretty much all you need, right? I mean, we saw the running game be pretty effective Super Bowl Sunday, but it wasn't effective between the tackles. It was more screen passes. It was more, check downs, and that's what they do. Is that going to be the norm going forward in regards to a blueprint for success to win a Super Bowl? No. I just think that they just have a great quarterback that is magic when it comes to them being down or them being up. The guy is just special. So, that's the difference.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. Now, you and I think, had this conversation before, right after the Super Bowl was over, that Kyle Shanahan now, he's been catching a lot of heat because he blew the lead in 2016, the 28-3 lead. Now he blew a 10-point lead in this Super Bowl. Okay, he's getting a lot of attention here, and I've always been on the boat of, I really just don't think it's fair to put all of this on him. I think if you wanted to give him some responsibility, you can, but to me, it just really doesn't sound fair to Kyle Shanahan, because I don't think that this is all on him. Do you agree with the heat that Kyle Shanahan is taking today?
I think it's, for me personally, I think it's 50-50. I do think that certain coaches, no matter how smart they are, how talented they are, sometimes they tend to outsmart themselves and make bad decisions. I mean, we saw that in the Super Bowl with Pete Carroll in regards to, beast mode. He tried to outsmart the smarties, and it was a play that just shouldn't have happened. I think the same thing with Kyle Shanahan is that he felt that whatever play calling he was going with, the very vanilla play calling in the last 7 minutes of that fourth quarter was going to be effective. It wasn't. And, will he learn from this? I'm sure he will learn from this. Will he be able to recover from it? Who's to say? I don't know, because football is such an interesting sport where you can be on top and you think that things are going to last and you never get back to the Super Bowl.
Right.
That's just the way it is, right? So who knows if he's going to get a chance to redeem himself. But, I do feel that he has some responsibility to bear here.
So, do you think that this game says anything about Jimmy G as a player?
Yes and no. You can definitely pick apart certain throws that he made or certain decisions, but that's been his deal this entire year. San Francisco 49er fans, or the people who analyze the 49ers, say that, he makes them frustrated because of the poor decisions that he can make from time to time. Now, granted, they have a great defense, and when you have a great defense, you can be able to mask some of those deficiencies that he does have. But on the biggest stage, they were hard to hide. They were hard to hide. The decision to not take the sack and try to throw the ball out of bounds, that's something that a veteran quarterback would know how to do, or even a quarterback with just a little bit more awareness in regards to time of possession, situation. He doesn't have that right now. Will he get it? It's possible, but that's one of the big concerns that I know that San Francisco had with him, and it showed in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on this. Now, here's really where I want to go with this as well. So Lamar Jackson won MVP. He was the unanimous MVP. You and I had the discussion earlier that I think Russell Wilson probably should have gotten a couple of votes, but let bygones be bygones, whatever. Lamar Jackson was going to win MVP anyway. He's the only player to do it since Tom Brady in 2010. Only second player in NFL history to do that. Now, here's the thing. I think Lamar Jackson next year is not going to win MVP again. He's not going to put up MVP numbers, and that's going to cause certain people to bail. Okay, when he completes 62% of his throws next year, doesn't lead the league in touchdowns again, and he only runs for 800 yards, it's going to leave people saying, oh my God, he was only a one-year wonder. He's a flash in the pan. And I'm saying, listen, don't bail on Lamar Jackson just because he doesn't win MVP again. He doesn't put up MVP numbers. Do you think that in the natural numbers digression that Lamar Jackson is set to have next year, do you think that it's right for people to bail on him?
No, because you have to look at things year to year, right? I mean, every year you construct a different football team. Things are different. Scenarios are different. Schemes are a little different. Yeah, his numbers are definitely going to come down, but that doesn't mean that he's still not going to be an effective player. They may just use him in different spots that they may not need him to be that explosive next year. Maybe they have better skill position players next year where they don't need him to do as much. Doesn't mean that it's a knock on him. It's just schemes change from year to year, and that's what the National Football League is about.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. Now, here's the big thing, right, Barry? Because, you and I talk about this a lot where, we talk about where the league is going. We talk about certain trends. We do, things around that nature. I don't think that the Chiefs are necessarily, evolving the game. But if we're going into next year, right, do you think that the Chiefs should be the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl again next year due to the, even with the NFL being almost like they're the ultimate parity league? Yeah, no,
I agree with you. I don't think that they should be the favorite. I think that they should be one of the favorites to go, to win the Super Bowl. They're a talented team, and when you have a out of this world quarterback, you're always going to have a chance. And they have Andy Reid. Andy Reid is one of the best minds in football history. They're definitely going to still continue to be successful. Will I call them the odds-on favorite? Nah, I wouldn't do that because we know in the National Football League, you think that somebody's going to be great, and then some other team steps up and shows you differently. So, they're definitely a contender, but I'm not going to say that they're the odds-on favorite at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now, I came up with a theory before, and you can tell me it's ridiculous just like these two did. Let's say for a minute, okay, talking about the Cowboys for a second, that the Cowboys franchise tag Dak, and Dak doesn't play. He holds out because he doesn't want to play under that contract. He wants to get paid. So he holds out under the franchise tag. He doesn't sign it. And what ends up happening is the Cowboys, because of that, are playing with Cooper Rush at quarterback. They become the worst team in the NFL next year. They're the worst. They have the worst record in the NFL, and they draft Trevor Lawrence in 2021. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's insane, Mike. The reason why I say that is because football teams have a certain window, and we can't really project that, right? But Zeke has a clock. Everybody has a clock on this team, and to kind of just throw a year away to say that, we're going to possibly get a better player in the draft, that's too risky to take. I think Dak Prescott has shown that he's good enough to, one, get a big contract, and two, be the leader that you need for Dallas to be a team that's going to be good for the next 5 or 10 years. So why not invest in this guy that's shown you the ability to grow year to year? The offense has changed. It's more of a passing offense that they have now, and he rose to the occasion. Now, granted, the entire team fell on its butt this year. It wasn't just Dak not making throws. The defense didn't show up. There was a lot of coaching errors, a lot of bad decisions, a lot of 2-minute drills that just weren't effective. Everybody holds some responsibility on why the Cowboys weren't successful this year. So I don't feel that they should kind of take that out on Dak Prescott because he's in a contract year and he wants his money. I think he deserves his money.
All right, so let's play this game then, Barry. So if you're Jerry Jones, what do you feel comfortable giving him?
You know the way it is, Mike, in regards to it's not because you're the best player at that position why you get the big contract. It's just because you're the next guy up.
Right.
So if he's the next guy up, I say $37 million to do it. $37 a year.
And you would do it?
I would do it.
God, I can't stomach that. 37, like I do 30. 37's a lot. It's a lot, Barry.
Well, okay. Well, think about this scenario, Mike. What if Jerry Jones does what you say, right? He does what you say. He tries to franchise tag him. Dak doesn't show up. They end up regressing and get another quarterback, and Trevor Lawrence doesn't end up being what you think he's going to be, and then Dak goes somewhere for $35 million and wins the Super Bowl. How would you feel?
Well, I get that, but, I mean, you got to keep in mind, both of the quarterbacks that were in the Super Bowl this year, Jimmy G's making 27, and Jimmy G's probably better than Dak, and Patrick Mahomes is making chump change, and they won the Super Bowl.
Well, think about it. When Jimmy G got paid, he got paid the market value of that year. You know, what I can agree with you with is that Jerry Jones should have paid Dak a few years ago. If he would have paid Dak a few years ago, you would be having a discount right now. However, he wasn't sold on Dak. He needed to see more, and that's understandable. But now you're in a situation where you don't really have any leverage. Dak has all the leverage. It's either you pay him or he doesn't show up and your team really regresses next year, and that's really not good.
Yeah,
in regards to morale, it's just not a good situation to be if you're an owner or you're the GM that Jerry Jones is. He needs to pay Dak. He needs to keep his quarterback happy. He needs to make sure that everybody else is going to be happy, because if they don't pay Dak Prescott, the Dallas Cowboys roster, they're not going to be happy, and it's going to be a miserable year.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. It's just, God, that contract is so big. All right, two things before I let you go, Barry, because the two big trades happened yesterday. One in the NBA, one in Major League Baseball. I'll start with the NBA one first, right? So it's like this massive 12-player trade. Clint Capella goes from Houston to Atlanta. Houston gets Robert Covington. There's like 50 players that go to Denver and Minnesota, and like Malik Beasley's in there, and Gerald Green and Juancho Hernan. I mean, there's like 50 players in this trade. I want to dial in on Houston and Atlanta because they're getting the two big pieces, right? Robert Covington going to Houston and then Clint Capella going to Atlanta. Right. I got to be honest with you. I don't like it for either team. I might like it for Atlanta a little bit more, but I don't like it for either team. What say you?
Yeah, I agree. I think the Rockets gave into D'Antoni's nonsense in regards to that he doesn't really need a dominant big man. He just wants to play this up and down style that he thinks is going to be effective, that one day will make him get to the NBA Finals. He's dreaming because it's not going to happen. Clint Capella is one of those low-maintenance type of guys that you didn't need to give him the ball, and he would just clean up and reset the offense, or he would go for an alley-oop. He would be a good rim protector. I didn't understand the reason why you would want to get rid of Clint Capella, but it's because of D'Antoni. It's because of his stubbornness and his unwillingness to change is why Clint Capella is no longer a Rocket.
And this whole thing
with Covington. Covington he's a good piece for the Rockets, but he's not gonna make a big difference. Now Clint Capella for the Hawks, that makes them a good team, but it doesn't make them a good team this year. So it's a wash this year, and then you try to develop a culture next year. But who knows what's going to happen next year? I really don't know what to make of Atlanta. I really don't. They have a special player there, but they need a lot. They need a leader as a coach, somebody that's going to be able to put in a good system and make everything work. So, there's a lot to be desired in regards to this trade, absolutely.
And
yeah.
No, I was going to say Atlanta needs time, too. They need DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish, Kevin Huerter. They've got like a million different guys that are so young. They just need time to develop.
Absolutely, and they need the right coach to be able to go in there and help them out. But I think the team that really did the best out of that whole fiasco yesterday, that trade, was the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think that they're trying to accumulate as much assets as they possibly can because they're going all in on D'Lo, and I think they get the deal done at some point. I think D'Lo ends up in Minnesota.
Go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say that now this whole thing, when we go back to saying how this affects Houston negatively, and I agree with you, Barrington. I think this is going to prove to work out in pretty much every team's favor besides Houston, because now it's going to force a smaller guy like PJ Tucker to now play the 5, which is going to make rebounding and inside moves a little bit harder. Now that they have Robert Covington, another guy that kind of can do this whole 3-and-D sharpshooter type of style of play that D'Antoni likes to run. It makes them more one-dimensional than they already were. So I didn't like this for Houston at all.
Yeah, I mean they like the kid Hartenstein. They like him a lot. I don't believe that he's going to be somebody who's going to be really effective in regards to playing a team like the Lakers or they really are going to have a hard time competing now because he's not as tough as Capella was. He's good. He can rebound, but it's just I just didn't understand the trade. And, there's a lot of things with D'Antoni that you don't understand, but that's just the way he goes about things. And, they're going to deal with the consequences like they always do. They're going to come up short. They're going to be less than, and we know why.
Oh, I'm 100% with you on this. And I think they didn't give up just one big guy. Houston gave up Capella, and they gave up Nene, so they gave up 2 big guys for 1 small guy. It makes no sense.
Right. Right.
Now let's go to the Major League Baseball trade, because I know you're up on baseball too. Mookie Betts gets traded to the Dodgers. It's Mookie Betts and David Price to the Dodgers. The Red Sox get Brusdar Graterol from the Twins, and they also get Alex Verdugo from the Dodgers, and the Twins end up with Kenta Maeda. So all around the players involved in the trades, whatever. The big takeaway for me is it's less about how the Dodgers got Mookie Betts. The Red Sox got ripped off for Mookie Betts. I mean, I'll say this. He's a good young outfielder, but he also has a back injury and a good young pitching prospect, but he might end up in the bullpen. I feel like the Red Sox got ripped off. What say you?
Yeah, I think if you look at that trade, Mike, I think you're looking at a team that was really desperate to get rid of a player because they didn't want to start spring training with him. They just wanted to kind of just rid themselves of that contract, of that, that burden that quote unquote they thought they had. They didn't get enough. I agree with you. And you're looking at a team that's desperate to shed salary quickly. That's all it is. I think you're going to see the Red Sox do a full reset completely. Whatever all the big contracts they have, I can't really think about it off the top of my head.
JD Martinez and guys like
exactly. Yeah. I think Martinez. They may look to move him at the deadline. Don't be surprised if that happens. I think that they're trying to do a complete reset, complete overhaul, get as much prospects as they can, and just live on their laurels for a little bit. Hey, we won a couple World Series in last decade, so give us an opportunity to kind of just retool, and I think that's what they're doing, honestly.
It really is
I mean,
amazing.
They really are, in a way, really due for this kind of rebuild because since 2003, they've been one of the best teams in all of baseball, and they've won 4 World Series championships.
Right, with one of the highest payrolls. Absolutely, yes.
It just might be that kind of, again, just might be that time for them just to kind of take a step back and have a bit of a rebuilding period. It's why you brought in Shane Bloom.
Absolutely.
Crazy. All right. Barrington Grant, U.S. Sports Pages. Thanks, buddy. It's always fun talking to you.
All right, man. I'll talk to you guys.
All right. Barrington Grant, U.S. Sports Pages. Love having him on every day on a Wednesday. All right. So for the first and probably only time today, let's go to the news on a Wii Sports Wednesday. Big J journalist Matt Catarazzolo.
So lots of things have happened in the last 24 hours, again, across against two major sports, and pretty big blockbuster trades happened in one night.
Yeah.
2 of them that you mentioned. So the details of this trade right now, the Mookie Betts and David Price trade, is that both of the teams were sent to the LA Dodgers. This was per Jeff Passan last night, was the one that broke the news. He was also the one that broke the news about Gary Cole. So he's an MLB insider for ESPN.com. He's definitely should be your number one source for all breaking Major League Baseball news.
Yeah.
So Kenta Maeda went to the Minnesota Twins, and in turn, the Dodgers also dealt Jock Peterson to the Los Angeles Angels. And that's a new. Oh, they're still in the works to send him to the Angels. So this is a new.
I've heard Ross Stripling is going to be in that deal.
Yeah,
also.
And so they've talked about more things. Now, this is another thing that could be interesting going forward in terms of shaking up American League rosters, because the American League has undergone pretty earth-shattering changes this offseason. When you look at Boston, Houston, the Yankees,
right?
Teams like the White Sox that have made really big strides. Like the Rangers. A lot of teams in the American League are actually going through really big changes right now. And when Anthony Rendon got his big contract with the LA Angels, everyone said, wow, they're going to be a formidable team. But they said, no. Does the Jock Peterson acquisition to you make the Angels a little bit more relevant now?
Yeah, I would say so. They're not really giving up much. I think Jock Peterson definitely fills a hole. He starts in the outfield now. They don't have to worry about that. If Joe Adell's not ready,
right,
they don't have to pull him up right away. And I think it gives them some flexibility with Justin Upton down the road. If they just want to cut him loose, if they want to figure out a trade for him, then that works. Jock Peterson is very much like Justin Upton. A lot of power, not a whole lot of substance. But I do think Jock Peterson was a good get for them. I like that. I don't know if it's a huge jump, because I never thought that hitting or anything along those lines was the Angels' primary problem. To me, it's pitching. They don't have any.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they were in on Garrett Cole, they missed out. They were in on Strasburg, they missed out. They were in on a lot of guys, and they missed out on a lot of guys. They got Rendon, which I think is making them a lot more relevant, but again, the pitching is what scares me. They really got to devote time into acquiring some starting pitching and relief pitching. Honestly, all around, they got a bunch of spots to fill with as far as their pitching staff is concerned. So I think it helps, but I don't think it makes them like a bona fide playoff contender. No, I don't.
So we talked about this a little bit more with Barrington. The number one free agent right now, the number one trade piece in the NBA right now that the Minnesota Timberwolves have been looking to acquire for a while is D'Angelo Russell. Now, this is per Bleacher Report saying that he could remain in Golden State for the remainder of the season, and then could quite possibly be moved afterwards.
The Warriors want to trade him.
Yes, and I think that's why they acquired him in the first place. They knew that this year we're going to be without Clay for 90% of the year. They didn't know they were going to be without Steph, but they knew no KD.
Yeah,
this is going to be a down year for them. So let's acquire D'Angelo Russell and then possibly trade him to get more assets.
They're telling teams that, oh yeah, no, we'll hang on to him. We like him as a future piece, but
right.
In reality, they want to trade him. They want to get whatever they can for D'Angelo Russell. That's the reason they're having conversations about him. Okay, the T-Wolves and the Warriors were close. They were close to a deal because the Minnesota Timberwolves want him more than anything. They wanted him in free agency, and they want him now. They will give up pieces. And the Warriors and T-Wolves come up with a price. The Warriors are asking for a lot. I think they want Wiggins. They want a bunch of draft picks. I mean, they want a lot. So, I don't know. We'll see about that. But, I don't know. D'Angelo Russell, I think, is very good. But is he a guy that I would overhaul my franchise for? No.
No.
He just isn't. I think he's probably the third best player on a championship team.
Right.
Like, that's the kind of player he is. I don't know. Listen, when it comes to, like other teams that are looking out for him, right? The Knicks were in on him. Like, why would you trade away a bunch of young assets for a guy like D'Angelo Russell? It doesn't make sense. He's not winning you a title. Okay, he's not going to be the centerpiece of a team that's going to win a title. No, he's going to be your third best player on a title team. Why would you give up the farm to get him? It makes no sense. I don't know. But that trade yesterday, that 4-team trade with Minnesota, Denver, Houston, and Atlanta was the craziest trade I think I've ever seen in the NBA. It was the craziest trade I've ever seen.
It was a lot to process in just one major move.
Didn't Woj say, like, it was like the largest... I think it was the 12. I think it was 12 players in that trade, and it was the largest trade in the NBA since Patrick Ewing got traded to Seattle.
Sonics, yeah.
I mean, that's absurd.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of moving pieces. I was like trying to keep track because there were like reports that were coming. The baseline of the trade came out where like they had like the initial players that were going in certain spots, and then there were more players being moved in separate tweets, and I was like Shabazz Napier's going to Denver. Noah Vonleh is now going to. I'm like,
right.
Oh my god! I'm like,
what's happening?
What is going on? My brain was exploding.
Yeah,
but
it was a lot.
Nuts. All right, finally.
All right, last thing, staying in basketball. So Knicks fans can finally rejoice. This is 20 years in the making. So on. Excuse me. Yesterday morning, another Woj bomb came out where it was announced that New York Knicks president Steve Mills is going to be relieved of his duties, and now the Knicks are GM Scott Perry will be fulfilling the role interim, but they're saying that Jim Dolan is apparently very aggressively pursuing current Toronto Raptors GM Masai Ujiri for the new president role.
God, I just. Like, okay.
Another.
I understand the Knicks for aiming high. But he's not gonna work for the Knicks.
Right. So another thing from Wojnarowski is the Knicks owner Jim Dolan is already considering a front office model that is working with Golden State, with Bob Myers, and with the Lakers' Rob Pelinka, hiring a top basketball executive out of the player agent ranks.
That's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea, but the Knicks are also the polar opposite of the Warriors.
Who would they hire, though? Who's a massive...
A name that I've heard is Rich Paul.
Wow.
If
they hired Rich Paul...
It's saying, like, he's the only person with the reputation to turn the franchise around.
Oh, my God, yeah. Are you kidding? Whew.
That would be nuts.
That would be insane. You have any idea how many... Like, the kind of players that Rich Paul represents?
LeBron James.
Doesn't he represent Giannis?
I think it's LeBron, Anthony Davis, Draymond,
John Wall,
Brandon Ingram, I think.
Ben Simmons.
Yeah, wow. I mean, guy represents stars.
Everybody. He's the Scott Boras.
That's
he's like
a draw.
He's like the Scott Boras of basketball.
That's the draw right there. That would be a move that would draw players to New York.
Right.
If your agent is the general manager of a franchise, you'll go there.
Right.
You will go there. Okay? Part of the reason, Evan, you remember this, part of the reason last year that Jacob deGrom signed an extension with the Mets is because Brody Van Wagenen became their GM. That Brody Van Wagenen was Jacob deGrom's agent.
Well, this is the thing. Now, with this, the president role for the Knicks definitely invites some skepticism. Would there be autonomy? Would you have to answer to Dolan? Is there? There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that being the president of the New York Knicks, especially in this, the state of the franchise right now today. It's not exactly a highly coveted job, but exactly.
No.
Right. So, I mean, we're gonna watch in the coming weeks of what's gonna be done with this, but this is a gigantic and very, very important pending move that Jim Dolan has to make.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I'll be honest, if I'm Jimmy Dolan, I take my time with this. I do not rush a hire.
Right, no one's expecting. No one's expecting the Knicks.
Make sure that you have your make sure you have your GM by the draft.
Right.
If you have them by the draft, there you go. Then you're solid.
Right.
Okay, but between now and June,
chill.
Lounge back, take a few interviews. I mean, seriously, go on your search, but don't rush to hire anybody. Take your time with this. Make an informed, educated, smart decision. You got to get this right.
Listen, exactly. There's nothing worse than having a position open that's imperative to the success of your franchise and hiring the wrong guy.
God, Rich Paul would be a dynamite hire.
Awesome.
If he was able, and I'm not sure Rich Paul would be interested, but if they were to hire Rich Paul, that would be franchise altering.
Right.
In every facet.
That it would almost immediately revive the franchise.
Think about this,
at least
too.
To a certain degree.
If Rich Paul becomes the GM, what makes you think that after his career is over, that LeBron James wouldn't want to come be an executive for the Knicks also? Think about that for a second. If you are able to get Rich Paul, you're basically uprooting that whole thing and sending it to New York.
Could
right?
very well draft Bronny, too.
That's what I mean, okay? And LeBron James wants to be bigger than a coach. He wants to be an executive. He wants to be a mogul. He wants to be that kind of guy.
Let's say this all goes down, and then the Knicks still stink for the next 7-8 years. Draft Bronny, and then boom.
There you go. And he's the next LeBron James. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think Bronny's going to be his father, but we'll see. He's also 14. He's a nice girl. I love that joke that LeBron made. He's like, would you ever want to play? Do you look forward to playing with your son or something like that, like in the NBA? He's like, my son's in 9th grade, man. I'm worried about what project he's got to turn in tomorrow.
I'm worried about his homework. That was so great
because it kind of woke everybody up. It was like, you know what, LeBron is a kid. He's an early teenager. And LeBron's probably having his Bronny Jr. is probably having his first real crushes on girls. You know
also,
what I mean?
Dude, in the grand scheme of things, LeBron is not old. He's old for an athlete, yeah, but he's
not.
What's
he, 36?
He's 36. LeBron's a young guy. So it's.
So Bronny was born when he was 22. When LeBron was 22.
I guess
that's when. Yeah.
Okay.
And Bronny's his oldest. So,
all right. We'll keep an eye on this Knicks situation, though.
That's right. So that's the news. Big J journalist Matt Catarazzolo on a Wii Sports Wednesday. We do the. I feel like I say this every time we do a Wii Sports Wednesday. It just does not. The energy isn't the same without Vinny Mutone, who really hyped up the idea. He really did.
We would not have a Wii Sports Wednesday if it wasn't for Vinny.
Yeah, you miss him, don't you? A little bit. Well, you see him,
I had
right?
class with him this morning.
All right, so
we see each other pretty often. We didn't last semester. I think I've told you that off the air before, but no, we're reunited. It's going good.
Reunited.
It's going good.
All right, good. I miss him. Tell him to stop by one day.
Yeah, absolutely,
seriously.
Man.
All right.
Get the band back together.
So we're gonna do this mock draft thing. We're gonna go to break, do the draft thing, and then we'll go home.
Mess around with some free agents, maybe too.
Yeah, probably.
All right,
we'll do that.
I like that. Good plan.
It's coming up next. Haystack Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the Haystack Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Good to be back. Haystack Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I just got informed that we're not doing the draft thing, so it only somewhat shattered my existence. But that's fine because we're going to do this. We're going to play a game called what are we calling it, Evan? I'll let you name it.
How about guess the free agent destination?
Wow, that's the
that
worst.
Was so.
That's the worst.
Thank you.
I love the face he made. He was like, guess the free agent destination. And then it was like,
said it so emphatically,
I came up with this idea.
Jazz hands.
I came up with this idea right before we started the show, so I couldn't think of a decent name.
In 2 hours, you couldn't think of a decent name.
Couldn't think of a decent name.
Wow.
You
I don't even want to do it anymore. I don't even want to do it
Yeah,
anymore.
let's just do the draft thing. You ruined it.
Guess the free agent.
Guess the free agent destination.
All right, buddy. All right.
Oh
All
my
right,
God.
let's
guys get your
Anyway, go ahead,
Here
Evan.
we go. So we'll start it off. Tom Brady. Where are we guessing he's going this offseason?
New England.
Are we all set
I
on
don't
the
need an
Patriots?
explanation.
I'm saying New England.
New
also.
England.
Are we all set on the Patriots? We're all set on it.
Yes.
Yep. Just get him some weapons. That'll be it.
And maybe get him some life support.
Yeah.
He's so old, and he's not good anymore.
Grandpa.
Give me a break. Seriously, he's going to go back to New England, but he should retire. Seriously, good thing we're doing predictions and we're not doing like what I would do, because I would say the old folks' home, retirement.
Palm Springs, Florida.
That's right, Boca Raton.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
All right, so New England. Are you New England too, Ev?
I'm on New England too. I'm guessing he's going to the Patriots.
The Bristol. Assisted living.
All right.
Yannick Ngakoue.
The New York Giants.
I'm with you on that. I'm taking the Giants too.
The New York
This
Giants.
just screams New York Giants.
$70 million in cap. Give 69.5 of it to Yannick Ngakoue. Boom. Mic drop. Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah, I was toying between the Giants and the Ravens, but I'll say the Giants.
Yannick Ngakoue should be the #1 primary free agency target for the Giants.
Here's a Raven. I'm gonna guess. Here's a Raven. I'm shooting a 3 on this one. Vic Beasley, Baltimore. I'm gonna guess he's a Baltimore Raven. Matt Judon, free agent. Who knows what happens with him?
Vic Beasley.
Vic Beasley, Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, Ravens. I'll stick with that. Ravens.
I like that.
That just screams like an Eric DeCosta signing. Chris Jones.
Kansas City.
Chiefs.
Kansas
We're all
City.
Yeah,
guessing-
they're
we're
not
all
letting him
guessing-
go.
we're all
They
guessing him.
need to make that a priority. He was crucial in that Super Bowl.
You could make a case he could have been Super Bowl MVP. He was
Right.
that good.
2 tip passes were big.
AJ Green. I want to guess the Saints. I'm going to guess New Orleans.
No, I don't think it's going to be the Saints.
Green Bay.
That's possible.
Green Bay.
How about
It's Devontae Adams and nobody else. How old is AJ Green? 29? You 30?
he just finished his age 30 season?
Okay. All right.
No, I'm sorry. No, he's going to be 32. He's going to be 32.
That's a lie.
Oh, wow. Ah, man. Yeah, okay. I like Green Bay. Maybe the Jets.
That's not impossible. All right, I'm going to go with a wild card here. The Miami Dolphins.
Ooh.
They need receivers.
They need
Him and
everything.
Devontae Parker.
They need everything.
They need everything. And they have money. They have money.
They do.
I don't know if that's a. I feel like the Dolphins would sign this guy. They would overpay for him. Bud Dupree.
Bud
I feel
Dupree.
like Bud Dupree is a guy. He was going to be next. Bud Dupree, I feel like is going to get overpaid by the Colts, the Dolphins. You know, he's going to be overpaid by one of those two teams. The Dolphins, I would guess he's a Dolphin or a Colt. Bud Dupree. He's going to get paid. He'll get paid because of his 11.5 sack season he had this past year. Someone will overpay for him.
This is a good one. I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals.
Bud Dupree.
That's funny you said you went to the NFC West. I was going to say Seattle.
Would they, though? Clowney
They're going to
and...
lose
Are they going to lose Clowney?
They're probably not going to re-sign Clowney.
He's a free agent too.
Yeah.
Jadeveon Clowney, where are we guessing he goes?
That's what I was thinking. I was kind of thinking Seattle. I was thinking he'd go back.
No, I don't know. I could see him going back to Seattle, but
What about the Jets?
nah.
No.
No. He said he doesn't want to go to a scrub team. That's like a quote.
New England?
Maybe.
No. They don't like paying anybody. What makes you think they're going to pay Jadeveon Clowney?
Cleveland.
For you?
For Jadeveon Clowney.
No.
Cleveland.
No.
Need a pass rusher. You have no idea if Myles Garrett's ever going to be there next season. Cleveland, you definitely think, okay, they got the talent to be better than they were.
I don't buy it.
I mean, I could see maybe Cleveland. Cleveland still got some money. Need a pass rusher. Whether Garrett's there or not, I definitely think they need a pass rusher. I think Clowney would make sense for them.
I don't know. I'm not in on it. I don't love it.
I don't know.
Phillip Rivers.
Tampa Bay.
Chicago.
Tampa Bay, Chicago.
I'm rolling Chicago. Actually, you know what? No, forget it. I'll roll with Tampa Bay. I will actually roll with Tampa Bay. I'll roll with Tampa. It makes too much sense. Bruce Arians, warm weather, not a division that's like overly difficult. Tampa Bay won 7 games, good offense, good coach.
Is Ryan Fitzpatrick a free agent?
No, you know what? I think he is, but he's probably going to go back to Miami. He announced he's going to come back for another year next year.
I was thinking Miami.
I would sense he goes back to Miami.
Okay. One moment, please. He moved out of California, so he's not going to go to a West Coast team.
Right. Do we know where he moved to?
I actually don't know where he went. You know what? I've been saying it for a while. I'll agree with Evan. I'm going to say Chi-Town. I'll say Chicago.
All right.
Teddy Bridgewater.
God, that sneaky suspicion says he stays in New Orleans.
Yeah.
But
because Breeze said that he'll make his decision on retirement soon, so you really don't know. I mean, if he goes...
And do the Saints really think they have their next guy with Taysom Hill?
No, they can't.
That would be a very curious decision if that's their plan. That'd be a very, very curious decision.
I would say Bridgewater stays in New Orleans. If he leaves... I don't know. If he leaves, maybe Indianapolis.
Indy, they got money.
Yeah.
He's got money.
Maybe Indianapolis, and he should get starting quarterback money.
My guess he stays with the Saints, but yeah, Indy's a very interesting possibility. They got money. Right. Of course, Chicago. Tennessee, if Ryan Tannehill doesn't come back, but I'm gonna roll with Tannehill stays in Tennessee. Are we all in agreement on that? Ryan Tannehill staying in Tennessee.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement on that one.
Yeah. He's gonna stay there. Right.
Tampa. What about? I can't say them. They're already paying Nick Foles. Forget it. They wouldn't pay Teddy Bridgewater. But Robbie Anderson. I'm guessing the Jets.
No. Jets are done with him.
It feels like they're actually on the same page in terms
Robbie
of money.
Anderson?
It feels like they're on the same page in terms of money. Like Robbie Anderson, I think said he would take $10 million. The Jets might pay him $10 million. Joe Douglas.
He is not a $10 million receiver.
Joe Douglas seems to really like him a lot. Joe Douglas likes him a lot. Joe Douglas tried to get Robbie Anderson when he was in Philly. I'll roll with Robbie staying with the Jets.
I can't imagine.
Philadelphia.
That would be the worst contract ever in sports history if they gave Robbie Anderson $10 million. God, he's so bad.
I say Philadelphia.
He's bad.
He's not that bad.
He's bad.
I think he's a fine receiver.
He's a number 4 receiver at best.
No, I say he's at least a number 2.
God, he's so awful. Most overrated receiver in football is Robbie Anderson. Easily.
The most overrated.
Right next to Darius Slayton. No, I'm just kidding.
Watch your damn
mouth.
Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth.
I was waiting. We've been on the air
Sleep.
We've been on the air up to that point. There wasn't any giant slow blow to Matt.
How about this? How about this, Evan?
Go for it.
The Ravens.
For Robbie Anderson?
Yes.
There's already Hollywood Brown.
So what?
They're a complete opposite type of receivers. Hollywood Brown's a small, kind of like
But
quick,
they're both speed
twitchy guy. Yeah, but Robbie Anderson's a
Can never
big
have too many speed guys.
A big vertical threat.
I feel like for the Ravens, before you sign a Robbie Anderson, you got to get a big body, go up and get a kind of receiver. I think that's the first person you get before you go get a Robbie Anderson. Because again, you already have a Hollywood Brown. Speed, take the top off the defense.
How about this? The XFL.
That's funny.
God.
Are you guys watching the XFL on Saturday?
No.
Over the weekend?
I probably will try.
No.
Eric Armstead.
San Francisco.
We're all in with San Fran?
Yeah, I don't think they'll
I
let
think
him go.
I think they're gonna try to keep that unit together for as long as they possibly can.
I agree.
All right, here we go. Time for the ultimate question. Because I have no idea where he's going to go. Because he could be a starter, he could be a backup. Jameis Winston. I have no clue.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I don't think they let him go.
I don't think.
I think if they would have parted ways, I feel like they would have already. So I feel like they're kind of committed to this guy.
At least for another year.
Yeah.
I think they're going to give Jameis one more year.
Man, I don't know.
As much as we might want to disagree with it, I think it's probably what is going to happen.
Jack Conklin.
The Jets.
Jack Conklin.
Jets makes too much sense.
The Jets.
I would guess the Jets do.
They're going to give him like $50 million or $50 or $60 million.
I think I agree, Jack Conklin, yeah. You know his real name's Jonathan? His name is Jonathan Jackson Conklin.
Jonathan Jackson Conklin. Sounds like a Revolutionary War general.
Haha, Clinton Dix. How about Dallas?
I could see that.
There's the other safety. There's a big safety on the market who's come off a great year, Justin Simmons. Haha, Clinton Dix. Sounds like just screams Dallas.
Yeah,
but
haha,
what if
Clinton.
someone pays for Justin Simmons?
I don't think Dallas is going to be able to afford him.
What about does Simmons get paid by someone else other than Denver? That's why I got Dix going to the Cowboys. And I don't think the Cowboys would pay up for Simmons.
I'm going to say the Cleveland Browns.
For Simmons.
Ooh.
No, for
Oh,
Clinton
Dix.
Dix.
Oh, okay.
For Clinton Dix, Cleveland Browns. I think that's their second biggest need on their roster, safety.
What about Justin Simmons then? Back to Denver?
No. Oakland.
Ooh. All right.
Dante Fowler.
Ooh. Now would he?
I could see the Jets doing that too.
I could see the
What?
I could see the Giants.
What about Indy?
Dante Fowler.
From the Jaguars to the Rams to
How about the Tennessee Titans?
Ooh.
Pass rusher. They could use one.
Okay. All right.
All right, one more.
All right, one more. Let's make it a good one. Ooh, I got one. I
Dak
got
Prescott.
two.
No.
Deal with Dak Prescott?
No.
No.
1, 2, 3. Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
Derrick Henry, too obvious. I think we all know Derrick Henry's going to go back to Tennessee. Barring anything drastic, you got to figure Derrick Henry's going back to Tennessee.
They'll make him the highest paid running back in football.
How about Shaq Barrett? 19.5 sacks.
Does he get extended by Tampa Bay?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
19.5 sacks this
It's
past year.
another guy the Giants should really go after. Killed us in week 3, even though we won.
What about Kansas? What about no? Kansas City's got to pay Pat Mahomes, and they got to pay Chris Jones. So no Shaq Barrett for that probably. What about the Raiders?
No, I think they've got. They like their young pass rushers. They like Max Crosby and Cleveland Farrell.
No, they're gonna take Chase Young. Well, you know what? Washington.
Houston, maybe?
Washington, they'll get Chase Young. They probably might be trading Ryan Kerrigan. Washington loves to pay. They love
Yeah,
to
but
pay.
I think Ryan Kerrigan's better than Shaq Barrett.
I would rather have Ryan Kerrigan than Shaq Barrett.
Shaq Barrett.
Tampa's got plenty of money.
I
to
can
sign
see
him.
Indianapolis doing this. I could see Shaq Barrett going to Indy. I could see that. But I have a feeling he's going to go somewhere dumb. Like, he's going to go somewhere like Detroit or something. Like, he's going to be that guy. Or,
Detroit paid for Trey Flowers.
here's the two scenarios that I think are likely to happen. He's going to go to Indianapolis, or he's going to get overpaid by the Giants. The Giants will overpay for a pass rusher. Whether it's Ngakoue, whether it's Shaq Barrett.
My money is on Ngakoue. It makes too much sense.
but they're going to give Yannick Ngakoue $20 million, and he's not worth $20 million. Like,
Okay, that's your opinion.
Yannick Ngakoue
Yannick Ngakoue
had 8 sacks this last year.
Yannick Ngakoue is an animal, and he would automatically be our best player.
So his career
he would immediately be our best defensive player.
So he had 8 sacks in his first year, in his rookie year. 12 sacks in 2017. That was his Pro Bowl year. 9.5 sacks in 2018, and then 8 sacks last year again.
Oh, wait, Evan, I have one.
Oh,
What about Marcus Golden?
Giants.
I think so too.
I think
there's
they're
not
right.
a lot of defensive players that I would re-sign. He's one of them. Definitely worth it.
Golden, yeah.
Had double-digit sacks this season. Really, actually made an impact on what was a lackluster defensive season. So I would think. And again, pairing him with Ngakoue, draft Isaiah Simmons, and then re-sign Golden.
Isaiah Simmons is definitely your draft. Is definitely Isaiah Simmons or bust. Just
Nah, I mean,
I don't think so.
It'll be Isaiah Simmons or an offensive lineman.
Or Judy.
Stop with that.
Why?
Because
You don't want him?
no,
Why?
no.
Why don't you
No.
want him?
I don't.
Why don't you want him?
We've
Why
had
don't
this,
you- why
we've
don't you-
had this conversation.
Yeah, but why
do I
wouldn't you want Barkley, Judy, Shepard, Slayton, and Ingram all in the same offense? Why wouldn't you want that?
Because we need other things.
Okay, great.
More than we need a wide
Okay,
receiver.
so get him later.
Dude, no, listen to me. If I could have somebody like Andrew Thomas or Jedrick Wills at 4, and then wait until the later rounds to draft the wide receiver, this is a super deep wide receiver class. It's granted, yes, it's also deep at offensive line, but I would rather get. Look what Indianapolis did. Indianapolis spent a 5th overall pick on Quentin Nelson. They immediately became one of the better offensive line units in the league after being terrible for so long. I'm hoping that is what that the Giants can follow a similar path, because in the first round, in the past couple of years, we've gone offense. We've gone playmaker. We've gone Saquon, Daniel Jones, Odell, Evan Ingram. I know Eli Apple, I believe, was 2015. Right. So, and the last offensive lineman we selected in the first round was Eric Flowers. So I don't want. Like right now, I want us to build a good offensive line or to improve our defense, because that right now are the two glaring holes on this team. We have serviceable wide receivers. Tate, Shep, Ingram, and Slayton can get the job done. Put Saquon in there, we have a fine arsenal of offensive weapons. What we don't have is we have zero, and I mean zero, defensive playmakers. We have an expensive offensive line that is not performing like they were expected to. Solder is not playing up to his contract. Zeitler, Hernandez, they're fine. Remmers and Jalapio are atrocious. We need a center. We need other things more than we need a flashy wide receiver. That's all I'm gonna say. So Evan's right. It's defense at 4, and then you take what I said, or it's offensive line at 4. I don't want to hear anything else.
I'm looking at an offseason.
Seacrest out. Sorry, buddy.
Okay.
I'm looking at an offseason predictions article for ESPN. They have the Ravens signing Calais Campbell.
Jeez Louise.
I'll take Calais Campbell on the Ravens. Yes.
Poor Jacksonville.
The Steelers, the Giants, their prediction.
Poor Jackson. Think about
The
it.
Giants' prediction is Dave Gettleman would trade down in the draft for the first time.
I don't think that's a bad idea. There are so many scenarios where that could happen. If Dave Gettleman was ever going to trade down in a draft, this is the year that he should do it. The Giants have a valuable pick at 4, and a lot of teams need a quarterback.
Interesting one here. The Bears getting Andy Dalton or Marcus Mariota to compete with Mitch Trubisky for the starting quarterback.
I could so see that happening.
Cowboys. Let me see if I can find the Cowboys. Cowboys. Come on. Where are you guys? Oh, okay. Jason Wynn will play another year, but it won't be with the Cowboys. So the Cowboys letting him go.
Watch him go to, New England.
That's such crap. Why would Jason Witten play anywhere else? And why wouldn't the Cowboys bring him back?
Reunite him with Garrett in
Jason
New York.
Witten's not going to cost you anything.
Reunite him with Garrett in New York.
So what? Why would you want him?
I'm not saying I do, but I'm saying to your point, why would he play anywhere else? I don't know.
It makes no sense. Come on. They got to do better than that.
You make no sense.
Yeah, I clearly you don't think that Jerry Jeudy's a good pick, even though
Jerry Jeudy might not even be the first receiver taken off the board. You want him to go at 4?
He's clearly the best wide receiver in the draft. Clearly.
I don't think it's that clear.
He's the best route runner we've seen in 20 years. What are you talking about?
I think I would take CD.
Why? What does CD do better?
Yeah, I think
what does he do better?
He's bigger.
Okay. But Jerry Jeudy's like 6'3".
Okay. I'd still rather take CD.
Okay. I think you're off your high chair. But
off my rocker here, buddy?
Jesus Christ. All right, there we go.
I can't wait to see your face when the Niners draft Grant Delpit. And you guys end up with, Xavier McKinney. That's what's going to happen.
That is what's going to happen. Listen, I've already accepted the fate of the Cowboys. They're just going to be awful forever. As soon as they pay Dak, they're going to be terrible.
The Jaguars would have to cut Calais Campbell. If they cut Calais Campbell when he hits the mark and he's a salary cap casualty, Baltimore, go get him.
That's crazy, man.
Dallas, go get him. Are you kidding me?
He is a Raven throwing through Calais
Every
Campbell.
team in the NFL should be in on Calais Campbell if
That's
he
crazy.
gets cut by Jackson.
Telvin Smith retires before the season starts. Nick Foles is out for the majority of the season. They trade Jalen Ramsey. They'll probably lose Yannick Ngakoue. Man, what a difference! What a difference 2 or 3 years makes.
They'll be left with Josh Allen and nothing else.
Miles Jack and
they beat the Steelers,
AJ Boye. That's it.
Beat the Steelers in a playoff game and almost beat New England for the chance to go to the Super Bowl. That was just 2 years ago.
They are so directionless.
That's so crazy.
It's so bad.
So bad. Fire Doug Marrone and then don't fire Doug Marrone and
fire him again.
What is Shad Khan doing?
All right. It does it for us. Matt Catarazzolo, Evan Mazza, Mike Guido here with you. It's the Haystack and the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.